Hi guys, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a parallel execution in Cucumber. So I'm going to start with the basics. So maybe perhaps a basic a Maven project from start, and then I add a few dependencies for Cucumber and all the required dependencies I'm going to add, and then I'm going to demonstrate how we can use Cucumber with JUnit to execute the test cases or other feature files in parallel. So I'll start file new other Maven project. So I'm creating a Maven project now. Next, then again next. Sorry, I need to skip this archetype selection. So go to next. I'll give you a name as Vision IT. I'm giving it a name as can be deleted because I would like to delete this later. So, but you gave a sensible name here. So can be deleted. Finish. I have a project here. Now I would like to change some of its POM file content. So I need to make sure I add few dependencies. So first is the properties I'm going to add. I have already written it down somewhere, so I'm not going to write it again. I'll just copy and paste. What I'm doing from here is I'm mentioning the Cucumber version as well as the JDK version, which I would like to use in this project. Then few dependencies. So I'll copy this Cucumber dependencies as well as JUnit. However, I might use Selenium as well because I'm going to write some Selenium test cases, and this is the dependencies for extend report generation. So let me copy these full set. Then once I do this, then I also would need to add the Surefire plugin. So maybe I'll add that later, not now. So for now, I'll keep it as it is, wherein I have these properties and I have these dependencies added. All I have to do next is I'll go here, I'll Maven and click on update project. Once I do this, the dependencies as well as Maven dependencies will be added, as well as JDK version will be updated to 1.8 as mentioned here. Now, next which I would like to do is to create feature files. So I'll go to other. Perhaps let me create a package first or folder first. So I'll create a folder name features. It's not mandatory. It's just how I like to do it. Other. I'll give it a name or rather simple file. A file. Next, I'll give it a name as feature file 1.feature. First feature file is created, and then I'll go and create another feature file as well, feature file 2, or let me create few more. So I'll create few more here, feature file 3, feature file 4. So I have 4 feature files now. So the first feature file, sorry, I'm going to remove all the unnecessary text from here. Let me remove this as well. No need for tag. So I'll write here. So let's suppose I'm writing a test to, maybe I'll open different URLs from different feature files to demonstrate this specific case. So I'll write here navigate to URL, navigate to google.com. Navigate to google.com. Here I'll write here navigate to a URL, and in the given part I will write when I open the browser and navigate to the URL. So I'll just keep one line here, and the URL I would like to mention here. And what I'll do is I'll copy various URLs. So I'll go here, I'll write here google.com, I'll copy this, put it here, And then the same text I'm going to repeat in all the other files. Feature file 4. Okay, so in feature file 2, so here feature file 1 I'm navigating to google.com, feature file 2 maybe I'll navigate to amazon.in, amazon.in, and the URL I will write here as amazon.in. Then in the feature file 3, let's say I would like to navigate to uh, let's see which, let's say Flipkart. Yes, flipkart.com. So let's say I'm navigating to flipkart.com here. And in feature file 4, let's say I would like to navigate to airtel.in. So I will copy the URL here. Same as here. All right, so I have these 4 feature files. Feature file 1 will navigate to Google, feature file 2, feature file 3, and feature file 4. Right? All different feature files having just single scenario just to demonstrate the parallel execution for these feature files. So once the feature file is done, the next step which we need to do is we need to write a runner file for it. So, and other than runner file, we also need a stepdef. So first we'll go and create a runner file. So what I'll do is I'll create a package runner. Again, not mandatory, but it's good to have a folder structure. Then a class. That class I'll give it a name as run test. By the way, this name of this runner file, it's always good to have this text here, because if you are not naming it as or you're not keeping this text which is test in the name of the file, Surefire plugin might not take it automatically. So it's always, your runner file should always have this test name in it. So all this combination works. XYZ, TEST, and this also works. Unless you have TEST in the name of the file, Surefire will pick it up. However, it's not, again, not mandatory. If you're not doing it, then in the Surefire plugin, explicitly you have to configure the name of the runner file. Otherwise, it will not pick it up for execution. For now, I'm keeping it run test. Finish. Then instead of writing all text, I will again go back to my existing run test file, which is this, so as to save time. So I'll copy the content here and I'll paste it. Rather, I'll just copy paste completely. Remove this unnecessary text from here. The structure here is again pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go into basics of how this feature file works and what are these Cucumber options. For this, you need to watch previous videos. But I'll explain what this is. So this is Cucumber options features, because I need to tell runner file where my feature files are kept. So this is inside a folder features, feature 1, 2, 3, 4. It will pick all these 4 files. Glue I'm mentioning as blank because it will automatically pick it up. Otherwise, I can also mention it. Tags, no tags here. Plugins. So this is used for reporting, and I have another plugin for generation of extend reports. Right now, glue is marked as null. There's no value here. I can put some path here once I generate the stepdef. So I'll go here. So for now, we need to run it. So what I'll do is right click, and for dry run, I will mark it as, let's say, true, because I don't want the actual execution. So I'll right click here, click on run as, and then JUnit test. Once I run it, it actually went ahead and created the stepdef for me. So only one stepdef is required here, because everywhere I am writing the same line. So it only generated one stepdef, which is this. And I will go here, right click, package, stepdefs, finish. Inside stepdefs, I will create a package, class. I'll name it as stepdefs, a simple stepdefs. Then here I will paste it. Given I will have to import it, so I will import this one. Now inside this I need to write code, so I'll write a simple plain Selenium code here because I only need to open the browser and navigate. So I'll write here web driver equal to new Chrome driver, and I will need to import it, web driver, Chrome driver, then driver.get. Here I will mention the name, which is string, name of the value which I'm passing from outside, and perhaps I will also write, let me get a before and after hook, for example. So I'll write here public stepdefs or other public setup with object scenario s. I'll mark it as a public void. Sorry, I will mark it. Let me import scenario object. Now this scenario object, I think I've already explained this. This scenario object is an interface in Cucumber API, and this is kind of injected at runtime via native dependency injection of Cucumber. This only can be used for a method as an argument who has an annotation as before. This before is not a JUnit annotation. It should be a Cucumber API annotation. We use this for just to freshen things up. We use this for many things, but mostly for writing the logs and embedding the screenshots. It also gives you a glimpse of what happened during the execution, so you can actually get at runtime what's happening with your test case and what's happening with your steps. If you want to know more, just watch previous videos. We have covered this in great detail. So for now, I'll just keep it simple. Scenario cn scenario, then scenari scenario dot equal to s, and then I'll write here scenari scenario dot write. Inside this I will write open the browser with URL as string. Just for printing this message I had to do all that. It was not mandatory to, but to give it a proper form I just used it. I also wanted to see the report once the execution happens, so that's why I put it in this line. Now next is, I think now we can run this. So what we'll do is I will just run this and I'll mark this as false, and let's see if it executes. So I'll click and run JUnit test. Okay, all 4 failed because I don't have a browser executable at the path. What I'll do is I will actually go ahead, copy this from my existing folder, and I think my project is kept inside Eclipse. This folder can be deleted. I think this is the one. I'll paste it here. So now if I go and run this, it should be executing the feature files. Yep, so first execution, now second execution, then third execution, which is Flipkart, and then the fourth one. So right now what's happening is, let me close all these first. Close. So what's happening right now is this runner test, which we have here, run test, it is executing the feature files. So first it's running feature file 1, then feature file 2, then feature file 3, and then feature file 4. Now this is great when it comes to a sequential execution, but right now what we are looking for is a parallel execution, because if a single feature file is, let's say it has 15 scenario 20 scenarios, and each scenario is taking, let's say, 1 minute, it will still take 20 minutes for if one feature file, and then it will pick up second feature file, then it will pick up third feature file, and all are taking 20-30 minutes, then it will be 3 hours execution for us, or 2 hours execution for us. But we want to improve on the speed, execution speed, so that we can execute the test cases faster and more frequently, and that is why parallel execution is of utmost importance. Now, when it comes to TestNG, it's very easy to do in TestNG, because TestNG has this inbuilt feature of parallel execution, where it uses multi-threading to execute different classes or even methods. Now, Cucumber is not as good as TestNG in terms of parallel execution, but we do have certain things by which we can achieve it. So there are multiple ways by which we can achieve it. I'll just open the existing page, Cucumber existing page. We have a document there called as parallel execution, and there they are actually telling us how can we do it. So there are three ways rather: JUnit, TestNG, and CLI. And to achieve this, Cucumber JVM allows parallel execution across multiple threads since version 4.0.0, right? So we need this version if you want to try this out. And if you notice in my Cucumber file, we have this version 4.2.0. So that one check is done. Then next is how to achieve it. So JUnit in itself doesn't have anything. Rather, even in Cucumber, we don't have anything which does that, but Cucumber takes help of the Maven Surefire plugin to execute your test in parallel. So if I put this into contrast to TestNG, in TestNG as a framework itself has this inbuilt functionality to execute a test case in parallel. But in Cucumber, we don't have it directly, but Cucumber Assist uses Maven Surefire plugin for execution of its feature files in parallel. And again, another thing is, in Cucumber, if you're using JUnit, you'll not be able to execute scenarios in parallel. Rather, this feature file will be executed in parallel. To explain more this in detail, let's say you have one more scenario inside this. If you have one more, and let's say you have 20-30 here. So once parallel execution will happen, feature file 1, feature file 2, feature file 3, feature file 4 might work in parallel, will execute in parallel, but the scenarios present inside these feature files will still be executing in sequence. So this is the big difference. So you cannot execute scenarios in parallel, but you can do execute feature files. So it's always advisable, since this is the limitation, it's always advisable to execute it's always advisable to have as many feature files as possible. In the sense, you should not have like 50 feature files in 50 scenarios in a single feature files. Rather, you should divide it across multiple feature files so that your execution could be faster. So what I'll do next is I'll open this URL again, and I'll explain you. So they have written few steps how to do that. I'm just doing it the similar way, but in a slightly few different points I am introducing of my own. So this is the plugin which they ask us to use, this Surefire plugin. Now there is something peculiar about this plugin. If I open this, the POM file, you will not see any entry of Surefire plugin here. But in Maven, if you're using Maven and you want to run test, Maven will definitely use a Surefire plugin to execute. So without Surefire, Maven cannot execute the test case. However, there are one more plugin called as Failsafe. So there are actually two plugins, Failsafe and Surefire, which is responsible for execution of your test case if you are using Maven. But in this specific case, you will not see anything written here directly. Why? Because Maven at runtime appends few of the plugins at runtime before it executes it. That information you can actually get it from effective POM. So if you open the effective POM, this is the POM file. Again, this is a Maven concept, nothing to do with today's session, but I'll freshen things up again. So effective POM is a POM file which executes your test case. Sorry, effective POM is a POM file which actually is executed by Maven, which in turn executes your test cases. So if I go and open the Surefire, you will see this entry here. So this is at runtime being appended here, right? But in our case, in our specific case, we don't want to rely on this. We want to add some additional information to this, right? If I open this URL again, if you see in the configuration part, I need to mention parallel methods and use unlimited. These two information I would like to enter here, which is not present here in effective POM. That this simply means I will have to write my own set of plugin here, which will actually override the Surefire plugin info in the effective POM. So what I'll do, I'll go back to my original POM where I have tried this earlier. So I'll go back here, and this is the Surefire plugin, and in this case I'm using 3.0.0.m1. Why? Because the version which is mentioned here, 2.2.0, somehow it was not working. I googled it. It turned out that this has some bug or issue. It doesn't allow parallel methods. So some error was coming. So I resorted to the latest version of Surefire, and the same I'm going to use to demonstrate this. So I'll copy, and I'll go back here, and I will add this entry here. So now I have a Maven Surefire plugin, which has version this, and I am also, by the way, I don't need the system variables for this test. So I'll remove this, and I'm using parallel methods, use unlimited threads as true, and this additional line I have put here, it's not needed for now, but I've just used it in the previous form, so that's why you can live with that. However, there are multiple things you can mention here. So for example, right now I have entered parallel methods here. Use unlimited threads true. That means it can use unlimited threads to execute your test. But we are not restricted to use only these values. So I would like to tell you about a link which is fork options and parallel text execution. Now this is the documentation of Maven Surefire, and I recommend everyone to read. If you would really want to understand how parallel execution works, so read about it. The different ways mentioned here by which you can achieve various combinations of this parallel execution concept. So there's a concept called as fork count. Right now I haven't put any fork count here. I'm just written parallel methods. The different things you can write here, classes and methods and different things. All that information you can get from here. Okay, so I recommend you just go through it once. So here, if you notice, methods, classes, both, suits, classes, suits, methods, and different values are relevant for different frameworks. But for now, I'm only using methods here, parallel methods. Now, without waiting further, I will demonstrate if I run this, what happens. So now if I go and run this from here, nothing will happen because this will still run things in sequence. I would like to run this via Maven because that is what so Maven is what is required to execute your test in parallel. You cannot just directly do it from here, right click and run a JUnit test, because the plugin which is responsible for execution of this test in parallel is written in Maven POM file. So what I'll do next is I will right click, go to Maven, go to run as, then click on Maven build. It's asking me for a goal. I will write clean install. Let's see what happens. Run, save. So if you notice, all 4 feature files started the execution, and then one more which I've added there later. So 5 test cases executed, everything got executed in parallel. So if you notice, this has 2 feature files, 2 scenarios per feature. Now this is 1. So if you see 5 browsers opened here. Now you can control how many instances you want to run in parallel. Let me close these, otherwise it will have a memory impact. So What I'll do is I will demonstrate one more thing here, which is you can actually mention how many parallel execution you would like to do. Right now written here, use unlimited threads. So what I'll do, I'll just go back here. I'll show you this one more line, which you can see here, which is if you want to mention how many parallel execution you would like to do. If I do thread count as 4, this is something similar to which you might have seen in the TestNG framework. There we have an option to mention the thread count in the suit XML file, TestNG XML file in this under in the suit tag. You can set an attribute there. Similar to that, there is an tag here which comes under configuration, and you can actually mention here. So I'll copy this, and I will, instead of writing use unlimited thread, I will specify how many I would like to execute in parallel. And this is important because you cannot just use unlimited threads. Your system memory, your system space is limited. You cannot just go and say, if I have 200 feature files, all 200 should execute in parallel. So you need to restrict it somewhere. And ideally, the good combination is 10 to 20. If you have very high configuration system, it's okay if you can say 20 test cases in parallel, but usually you can say 5 to 10. So for now, I will restrict it to 2 because I have 4 feature files and I would like to demonstrate something in parallel and limiting this thread count. So I'll mark this as true. And again, this time, instead of running it from Eclipse, I will go back here. From the command line, I would like to demonstrate this. So Maven clean install, or rather, I can also do Maven clean test, because Surefire executes at the test phase of Maven lifecycle. Oh, okay. It again opened 4. Maybe it didn't. It should have restricted to 2. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me check. Okay, I found it. So this thread count which you see here is 2 thread per core. This is the default setting. And this is again, I actually checked the Cucumber guide here, and they are saying clearly here the thread count in the above setting is 4 threads per core, right? So if I'm mentioning here 2, that means 2 tests per core, and my system right now, which I'm working, it has 2 core, dual core, so 2 tests per core. So it actually opened 4 simultaneously. So I will need to restrict this and say per core thread count equal to false. This is what I need to set here so that it will obey what I want. Now, if I go and run this, and let me remove that unnecessary scenario from here. Now, if I go here and do this, now it's opening 2 test cases, executing 2 feature files in parallel. Okay, awesome. So see guys, this is how you execute feature files in parallel. Again, I said there are multiple combinations which you could try. You can check those combinations from here, and fork options is also very good strategy, because forking is something where the Surefire will actually create multiple virtual machines, JVMs, which is kind of help you in achieving the Chinese wall. That means the state of one feature file will not impact the other. So for that, forking is also a good approach. But to keep things simple for now, just follow this and try it out on your own laptop.